It's true, Shawn.
What are you talking about? What's true?
All of it. You know all of it. You know it.
So where can I find this truth it?
On the Pop Bros Network, because this is a Pop Bros exclusive.
Did you just want to act like Han Solo again?
You know, doing a promotional spot isn't like dusting crops, boy. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. Actually, we have been speaking language of bromance for the last hour. I've been trying to school Shawn on music because apparently Shawn doesn't understand music that was made before 1997.
I honestly didn't realize there was more than Garth Brooks albums out there. Like, you were naming off all these bands. I was like, are these movies? Are these fake characters? Are these all the characters Garth Brooks played?
Who's Johnny Cash? Fake news.
Well, Richard, I was kind of stumbling around one day because, you know, like when you're talking about just different things, there's always like a close local type of like fame. You know, every place has something that's kind of local to their place that it's like, oh yeah, so and so was from here or whatever, right?
Shawn, you're talking. I live in a historical. I live in a historical town. Like, I live in the historical tourist trap.
Yeah, you live in America's hometown, buddy.
That's right. That's right, baby.
But I mean, there's just things like that. Like, there's always kind of like a person that everybody's heard of. They don't know a ton about, but so just kind of bury the lead a little bit. But there was a day where a couple people were talking about where I used to live close by, Hannibal, Missouri, right? And
Yeah.
the topic of the Unsinkable Molly Brown came up, right?
Oh,
you've
God.
heard of her. There's signs like, come see Molly Brown's house. The Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Shawn, I'm not okay. I'm not kidding you. Hang on, I'll look it up. Yeah, I'm okay. So on Google Maps, according to Google Maps, I am 7 blocks away from the birthplace of the Unsinkable Molly Brown. And I actually didn't know you were going to start talking about this, so I had to look it up. I'm like, oh, like I see signs everywhere because it's where I fucking live.
And like, no, I've never been. Have you ever been there?
No, I've never been to the house or never. I feel like since I'm so embedded in this area, I feel like I'll just kind of eventually absorb all the information by osmosis. Yes, I live in America's hometown. And actually it's funny because when I've traveled around and people ask me where I'm from, I'll mention the town that I grew up in and nobody's heard of it. You know, it's a pretty big town. Nobody's heard of it. But if I mention Hannibal and they're like, isn't that the town from the Mark Twain books? I'm like, yes. I live, the town I grew up in is like 20 minutes away from the town that was in the Mark Twain books. I have to use this town as a reference point when I'm explaining to people where I grew up.
Which is kind of crazy because, I mean, like, you kind of take that for granted because Hannibal, Missouri really is kind of a very iconic Americana town.
In those books, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't read them.
I think I've read pieces of it in high school, if I remember correctly. I seen the movie, the new one, with Jonathan Taylor Thomas. So good.
Can we call that the new one that came out in like what? Like 95?
Probably. But so as I was talking, and maybe this won't lead too much into the discussion on Molly Brown, but it was one of those things like I always had in my mind that the Unsinkable Molly Brown was in like a couple of shipwrecks, right? Like, why would you be Unsinkable Molly Brown if you hadn't been in more than at least one shipwreck?
Oh, you're saying like they called her I just figured they called her Unsinkable because I thought she was like a butch woman. You know what I mean?
Oh, gotcha.
Like what? Like the name of that ship, like Old Ironsides. Like that was like a nickname for her. Like, oh, it's the Unsinkable Molly Brown. Like, ain't no taking that bitch down. That's a huge bitch.
She's not a tremendously beautiful woman, but it was the early 1900s, so, you know, had that going for him.
So they were all ugly back then? That's what you're trying to say?
I don't know. You look at some of those pictures.
That's a little, like, history-ist.
That's a little ageist.
Yeah, ageist. There you go. Thank
Well,
you.
it's probably the cameras and, the fact that they couldn't bathe
Like,
more than a couple times a month.
oh, if you're old, then fuck you. You were
Well,
probably ugly.
well, maybe.
I love the way that over the course of our lives, well, not over the course of our lives, but over the course of, say, the last, 100 years, that we've sexualized women differently and that it's changed. Like, you go back to, say, the 1930s, maybe even the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like, it was all, you know what it was, Sean? It wasn't breasts. It wasn't breasts at all. You know what it was? It was
big old booties.
Well, not really so much booties, but legs. Like, dudes were all about girls' legs.
I thought it was always the hourglass, the big old hips.
No, they called them gams. They're like, oh, look at the gams on that lady. Look at the gams on that dame. Ha cha cha cha. That's what they said. That's that word for word.
Ha cha cha cha.
Yeah, they hold up a picture. They're like, look at the gams on that dame. And then they get blown up in a trench because we were at war a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a good stretch of time where there was a war every decade and drafts.
I'm not sure when it changed. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know at what point.
I always thought it was when the bikinis came out. Like when they started doing bikinis, that's when they started.
Once two pieces showed up.
Because I don't think shaving was a common thing for in this time period because everybody wore the long dresses because you didn't want to show your ankles.
Oh, way back.
Yeah.
Early. Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Then in the 40s and 50s, they're ooh, we can show our calves.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh my God, there's a lot of hair there.
Look at the gams on that. Jesus Christ. That's terrible. Those look like my legs.
Because I think that was about the time that women started shaving their legs, which I don't know if that was a razor company push or what.
Is that a big thing for you?
Hairy legs?
Yeah.
Oh, I love them. No, legs don't bother me too much. I don't want long hair. If it's prickly, it doesn't bother me. Armpit hair freaks me out.
Freaks you out?
Yeah. If Tiffany raises the arm and it's long enough to see it starting to curl, I'm like, no. Shave it now.
We're done here until things happen. Things need to happen in order for things to happen.
She's let it grow since we've had the kid. We have had sex for months.
Oh wow. I don't know. I feel bad in a way. I feel bad that I, as a dude, there isn't much upkeep I have to do.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about that today because Tiffany was complaining. I didn't even notice, but she's like, man, my legs are super hairy. I need to shave. And I'm sitting there in the shower. I'm like, yeah, I need to shave too. And then I'm looking at my leg and then my face because I have a beard now. It's
right.
Yeah, there's not I have to get a haircut every 6 weeks. I don't even have to do that. I do it more for me.
6 weeks?
Yeah, about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
Huh. I wait longer. And it's not, I don't wait longer because I'm I want it to grow. It's one of those things that I just don't pay that much attention to until I notice it.
Yeah, but you have longer hair to begin with. Mine's usually pretty short. And so if mine gets long, it feels real poofy and uncomfortable. I just got my hair cut 3 or 4 days ago, and this is when I feel super comfortable where it's freshly cut.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying when your hair grows, it grows out? You should grow your hair out and just see what happens. Just grow and grow.
In high school, I had a little bit longer, but nothing crazy.
Grow it to your shoulders.
I couldn't do it. I just don't think I'd be comfortable. Although, if I could do the ponytail with my big a big bushy beard, that'd be pretty badass.
Right. And then you could bun it.
Yeah. Man bun it up.
That's still a thing, right? Isn't that a thing?
I think it still is, yeah.
Okay.
I always worry, completely separate tangent. I look at my dad's pictures from the 80s and he had the porn stash. That was the thing.
Right.
Dudes grew stash.
My dad did too.
Yeah. Prom picture, stash. Wedding picture, stash. And I always wonder, because if I shave my beard off, I leave not a full goatee, but a chin goatee.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always curious, in 20 years from now, if you look back at those pictures, oh my God, Dad had the porn goatee.
The porn goat?
Yeah.
That's what they'll call it. They'll call it the porn goat. And you're like, why can't we just call it a porn beard? You say porn goat and that just sounds wrong.
But beards, I don't think will ever be out of style. I guess clean shaven's kind of always a thing at times, but every generation it seems like somebody at least still has a beard. 80s people had beards. 90s
Well,
people have beards.
back in the day, you had to have a big beard because otherwise you froze to death.
Yeah, that's true.
Used it to keep warm. That's why older guys, like back in the day, old guys had big fucking bushy beards because they'd wrap it around themselves like a scarf, or they'd wrap their head in it like a cocoon.
And the fact that they're concerned about eating more than shaving.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's like, oh well, I can't go hunt since I haven't eaten for 6 days because this beard's getting too bushy.
Oh.
Oh look, a bird.
Oh look, that's what they do. They'd save it. They'd save stuff in there. Because when they get really hungry, they'll be like, "Oh, I haven't eaten in 3 days," and then like, "Oh, chicken leg, nom 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 nom." Good thing that fell in there.
Save it for later.
Thank God.
So, what do you think is going to be like our generation thing of like you look back, in the 2000s? Because
I think the man bun. I think the man bun is very trendy. Like I feel like the man bun is on the cusp of becoming a done with thing.
Yeah,
I actually honestly thought it was already a done with thing.
People make fun of it a lot still. It was like a trendy hipster thing for a couple months. Right. Did you ever fall into any of those things? Like I'm trying to think of like the trendiest thing I ever fell into.
I didn't. I thought this was trendy, but it turns out it wasn't. When I was in 5th grade, I grew my hair out long, like to my shoulders. Everybody made fun of me and honestly, okay, this is so sad. The reason I did was because I watched Highlander. Okay. And like all the dudes in that movie had like, well, not in the present time, but they did all these flashback scenes back in like the Middle Ages, and they all had like long fucking hair, and they all looked badass. Like Connor McLeod,
well,
looked all badass with his hair, and then the Kurgan showed up, and he had long fucking hair. But Kurgan had long hair in the present and the past, so I thought it was okay.
That was like in the mid 90s.
No, it was like the 80s. That was like when that movie came out in the 80s. I didn't see it until the early 90s.
Like hair bands and stuff were like in the early 90s, late 80s. Like dudes had long hair.
Yeah, but grunge hadn't completely taken off yet. So,
but I mean, hair bands were in. I mean, like Axl Rose.
Yeah,
had long
but
hair.
Okay, but with the hair bands, it was all
permed,
teased out.
Yeah,
it was all teased out. So I just had it and had it long, and I was, oh God, everybody mercilessly made fun of me in 5th grade, and it didn't happen until towards the end of the year. So over the summer between 5th and 6th grade, I just buzzed my whole head. So then I showed up in 6th grade with a buzz cut.
Yeah, that's what I had all through grade school. My mom would cut my hair, and so she'd just buzz it, and it'd be super short and look ridiculous, but it was cheaper than a haircut. I was gonna say, that's what sucks about being a boy is, mom would just be like, listen, I'm not gonna spend $20 every 6 weeks to get you a haircut, right? Like, I'm just gonna buy some clippers, buzz your hair. Listen, no girl's gonna go out with you anyway, so why are we gonna put the effort in?
You don't need to look pretty because you'll always be my baby.
Laura,
thanks.
Quit telling him that. You're gonna give him a disorder.
Don't listen to him, honey.
Your mommy's the only person you'll ever need.
Oops. Hey, Mom. Turns out that I like girls' legs.
They're called gams, honey.
Oh. And then about like 8th grade is when I like grew my hair out, because that's when grunge had really hit. So 8th grade, grew my hair out, got all fucking, I got grungy. Like I grew my hair to my shoulders, and I did that thing where you shave the underneath of it.
Uh-huh.
And then it was long on top.
So it kind of hung down. Because that's always what's weird about my hair is it feels like it's poofy on the sides. But like my hair was super long this last time I got it cut. And she like shaved the sides, but the top was kind of hanging down a little bit. I was like, that doesn't look too bad. With my full beard, kind of shave it, let the top kind of grow down a little bit.
There you go.
But I mean, I would do that. But I mean, you didn't even notice tonight that I got a haircut. So I don't know why I try to impress you anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I did shave my legs for you, but you can't notice. You can't see it.
I saw when you walked away. You had your high heels on.
You stared at my ass. Look at the gams on that dude. All right. So, Unsinkable Molly Brown.
I kind of like letting people get behind the curtain. We haven't done that in a bit.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so 14, I grew my hair out, and actually I've kept it fairly. Actually, so what happened is I grew my hair out super long. So when I was 14, I just kept it going. I just was like, fuck it, I don't care. Like, I just let it grow. So by the time we met,
it was fairly long, yeah. Because
when we first met, my hair was down to my ass. Like, I would wrap it in a bun. I put in man buns before man buns was cool. Because I had to work, because I worked in a kitchen. So I wrapped my hair up in a bun and then put a hat over it, and then that's how it worked.
Well, I know we probably hadn't talked much yet, because I started at the restaurant like right as they made you manager, and didn't they force you to get your hair cut?
They did.
Sons of bitches.
Long now. Who's laughing now?
Probably still us.
Long now, and they're closed, so fuck them. Who won? I won. Anyway, point is, I won.
So going back to Molly Brown, so we brought it up, and so the whole thing, like, you build these myths in your head. Like, maybe somebody said something like, "Oh yeah, she survived a bunch of sinking ships." Like, oh, that makes sense. That's why she's the unsinkable Molly Brown.
So you're saying because it said unsinkable, your assumption was she was like on a boat, like she's like the albatross, like she's on a boat and the boat fucking sinks, and then she's like, "Oh, that was terrible," and then gets on another boat and that boat fucking sinks.
But she's still the one that survives somehow.
But she survives. She's responsible for the deaths of 500 people at sea.
So, I mean, you start looking that up, and you come to find out the only ship that she was ever on that sunk was the Titanic. And so that gets you to think, it's like, okay, well, why get for the name the Unsinkable Molly Brown? Like, everybody on that ship is technically that survived is unsinkable.
Yeah, that's true. Even the old girl, the old lady with the blue necklace.
Yeah, the heart of the ocean, or whatever the heart goes on.
She's unsinkable. Actually, no, she's not unsinkable, because at the end she jumped in the water.
No, she didn't.
At the end, she died.
No, she didn't. She died in her bed.
I thought she jumped off.
No, so at the end of the movie, she dropped the heart of the ocean in there, and Bill Paxton's like, "No, you stupid bitch." He yells at her. He's like, "Why the fuck would you do that? That was like $600 billion. I've been searching for this all my life."
And then he pushed her, right?
No, he starts choking her.
Oh.
And then the girl that he's trying to bang, his granddaughter, is like, "No, don't, that's Graham.
Don't hurt my mammy. My Meemaw. Don't hurt my Meemaw."
So they get separated, the crew breaks them up, and he's like, "I'm going to see you in court." I don't know why he said court.
Right.
He's like, "Game over, man, game over."
The court of the sea. That's where we'll settle this. And then they made her walk the plank, right? And that's how she died.
No, so she went back to bed, and she's like, "Oh, wait." She was like thinking all the thoughts of Leo. And she's old. She's like 101 at this point.
Yeah, she's like 5 billion years old.
Yeah, and so she's laying in bed, and like when Paxton choked her, it kind of turned her on a little bit. Because
right.
I don't know if you remember in the movie when Leo and her were in that car, like he actually kind of choked her a little bit. Like she was into SMM.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's when the bear showed up, right? And the bear was like pounding on the window, be like, "Excuse me."
He's like, "Harder, harder."
You're not doing it right.
That's not in the original cut, like the theatrical release. This is the director's cut. So everybody knows.
Fucking James Cameron, man. And then there was all the little blue people that showed up.
Yeah.
With two vaginas.
Yeah. And so she's like, Bill Paxton choked her.
When did that get established?
Well,
the two vaginas thing.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a thing.
No, that's a thing. Like in Avatar. And the reason I know this, is because so Fleshlight, the company that makes the little pocket pussies, they came out with one for Avatar, and the Avatar one has two.
Like a front hole and a back hole?
No, like two front holes. So what I'm saying is that when did it get the question I'm asking is, when was it decided that all these cat people had two vaginas?
When did that become canon?
And what are they both like? What, like, if one's for, I assume one's for peeing and one's for fun.
Maybe they're both for fun.
Maybe I mean, obviously they would be both for fun.
Well, maybe one's for, because their tails always like had to connect. Maybe one you connect the tail to, and the other one you connect the pee-pee to.
That just seems uncomfortable because then you got to loop your tail around.
Well, I mean, that whole movie's weird.
Yeah, okay, good point. Because in the movie, they like touch tails to connect, right?
Yeah.
So, or what? No, wasn't their tails? It was like their hair braids or something, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I think it was tail.
I don't.
That movie was weird. It was basically Pocahontas, but in the future.
No, it was Dances with Wolves,
which is like Pocahontas. They go. Well, it's more like Pocahontas because they come to invade the land for the goods, and then there's native people they're trying to get rid of, and then one of them goes and joins and becomes one of them. That's the John Smith character. And then they fall in love, and then there's a war, and he dies for her. And I want to know how they're going to make a sequel to that. Like, that's coming out soon, too, isn't it?
Oh, we're not just... I think it's more than a sequel, from what I understand.
They're going to build an Avatar universe.
Fucking Avatar. Like, it was an okay movie. I didn't see it until way, 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 way later. So it didn't, like, impress me as much as it probably should have. Like, the impact of seeing that movie, like, in a theater.
In 3D. You had to see it in theater in 3D.
Yeah. So the impact of that was probably so intense and amazing that people would go to see it just because it looks so goddamn beautiful.
Well, it's kind of... I wonder why John Cameron... It's John Cameron, right?
James
Cameron. I wonder why James Cameron made that movie, because the reason he made Titanic was because he wanted to actually get the studio to pay for him to travel to see the actual shipwreck.
Right.
So I wonder if he wanted Avatar made because he's like, I've always had fantasy of a female with a blue big female with 2 vaginas.
Yeah. Make this. Well, we can do it in a computer. No, that's not good enough. I want props.
James, that's going to make it rated R. Like, that's not going to top Titanic money. All right, let's make it PG-13. We just won't mention the 2 vaginas.
Right. We'll put it in the special features. And that'll be a super special feature.
And then I'm going to special feature myself.
Because I hear 2 vaginas, I'm like, that's special. That's a special feature.
So back to the director's cut of Titanic. So Bill Paxton chokes her. The girl, the granddaughter that he's trying to bang on the ship.
Right.
Breaks him up. And like I said, she goes back to her cot on the ship, and they're getting back to go to the mainland. And she remembers the time her and Leo were in the back of that car, and he, like they said, they're in like light bondage, like a little smack on the butt, that kind of thing.
Right. And then he starts throwing money at her, and then he's like, I'm a stockholder. Or I buy and sell stocks, right? That's what he did?
She would say, no, not Leo's character. Oh, well.
Yeah, that's what Leo's
in
character.
the future.
Oh, and then...
He's like,
that's when the bear shows up.
I'm an outdoorsman.
I carve stuff into trees.
But no, so she goes back and like she's like in the area where all this happened, right? Because they're pretty much right over Titanic where it sank.
Right.
And so she's getting some feelings, Richard, that she hasn't felt in a while. It's actually a really touching scene. Cameron does it very artistically. So then she starts to go downtown, right? She's gonna take care of her lady bits.
And that's when he puts on the red hat. And then he's like, I love you, mama. And then they try to cut her out of the house. And then, no, wait.
Wrong movie. No, but see, she's doing her thing and heart attack. And then she dies.
Oh.
She went out the way she lived.
Yeah. And then he arrests Matt Damon.
Yeah.
No?
I don't know.
Different
movie.
Okay. I'm trying to remember his entire catalog in my head.
James Cameron didn't do Forrest Gump. That was Ron Howard.
I know.
Was it Ron Howard? No, Steven Spielberg, wasn't it?
I don't fucking remember. No, I think you're right. Gump. I think it was Ron Howard. Why? Who brought up Forrest Gump?
Well, he said he put on the red hat and said, I love you, mama.
Yeah, because he wore the red hat and fucking, What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Oh, I don't know what that movie is. I've never seen it.
You've never seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape? That's a good movie. Johnny Depp's in that movie. And Leonardo DiCaprio's in that movie, and they actually the woman that plays their mother wasn't an actress, because the whole movie is like the mom is very overweight to the point where like if she wants to go to the hospital, and they're saying that these people are saying that they're gonna have to cut a hole and like crane her out.
Oh, geez, I've heard stories about that. Like how do you get that big?
Okay, but wait. So the woman that played the mother in that movie, she just recently died. But the reason I bring it up is because she was actually a woman like that they had to cut. Like, she wasn't an actress.
Oh, so it's like a semi-documentary.
Well, I mean, I guess from her perspective, like, she was kind of playing herself in that sense.
Yeah, that seems like a tough role to play, being there stuck in bed.
It was fucking, dude, it's fucking sad. No, like, don't knock Gilbert Grape, because that was kind of a sad movie. Johnny Depp was okay in that movie, but Leonardo DiCaprio played a very like a slow.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He played it like he was handicapped.
Like, he fucking
handicapped.
nailed it. Like, that kid nailed it. And this was, I think, right after Growing Pains.
Alyssa Milano.
Growing Pains. No, that's Who's the Boss.
Oh, I don't know. It's from the 80s. It's old.
Oh my God.
It's like mullets and teased hair.
Oh my God, I hate you so much right now. Oh, it's old. You're a bastard.
Well, I mean, no, but like we kind of talked about that. Like, you think of like what kind of got me thinking about the like what things will we look back on and be like, oh my God, that's so old. Have you seen the things where it's like millennials, or maybe not millennials, like teenagers look at things from the 90s or look from things from the early 2000s? Have you seen these videos they put out?
Yeah, like the React videos.
Yeah,
The Fine Brothers do.
They did that, and they said, okay, let's see if these kids can know these songs from the 2000. And I was like, well, that wasn't that long ago. And these kids like started like listening. Oh, I was born in 2000, so these are my jams. This is what I grew up to. I'm like, oh God, I was in high school. I was practicing making babies when this was playing. It was by myself, but that doesn't mean anything. Still practicing.
And you got good.
Yeah,
that's what's important.
Yeah,
it's all just about lowering your time when you do that. You know,
click, click, boom.
Like, when you're with somebody, it's like a leisurely stroll. But like when you're by yourself, you're like working on your speed runs. You know what I mean?
Because the shame kicks in. You're like, oh, why am I doing this again?
No, see, for me, the shame doesn't kick in until immediately afterwards.
Well, I mean, if you go too long,
how disgusted with yourself do you feel right after? Like okay, so you finish, and then 3 to 5 seconds later, that's when you stop and you look around at yourself and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, I think it's worse like if it takes too long, and then you're like, man, you get to that point where like, should I keep going? Should I stop? I'll just stop. But then you're like, well, I think I can get it. And
at what point I think gotta finish.
Yeah, and you can't get that last lug nut off the tire because you're on the side of the road and you got to get that tire changed. But you're like, God, I just don't. Wait, what are we talking about?
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Tire changes?
No, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Changing your tire?
Yeah, we're good.
How many times do you change your tire in a week?
At least 5.
I have lots of flats.
There's a stack of tires in my basement that I just,
flip through.
And don't even get me started on the oil. Oh my God, the oil. So many quarts. So many quarts.
Gross.
Talking about masturbation.
Yeah, but I don't know I remember when they talked about the fleshlight thing coming out with the Avatar, but I didn't realize that they had the dual vagines. Did it lead to the same area? Or was it like literally 2 different ones?
No, I think it was. I don't know. I haven't looked at the cross section of the Avatar fleshlight. I mean, maybe it's separate ones. That would be convenient because then it's like, hey, 2 for the price of 1.
I mean, you still got to make sure you keep that stuff clean because that's dangerous. That's how you get diseases. Yeah. That's how you get the crotch rot.
No, it's just a thing you hold and you just you hold it and then you just. I mean, I'm jerking my hand up and down, but like that's what you do. You just shove it on and then. Well, you gotta lube it. Like, everybody, like, public service announcement. If you buy a fleshlight, make sure you lube it properly because you don't want to go in there dry. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not just talking about fleshlights. Public service announcement. Get things going before you get things going. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that should be my closing thought, but it's too important. It's too important to leave at the end because I might forget. So there you go. The more you know. So Molly Brown.
So going back, like, it was just kind of weird that she was unsinkable because she only been on one ship. But as you dig into these things, it's kind of interesting because her name wasn't Molly Brown at all.
Really? I didn't know this. The guy who lives 7 blocks from where she was born didn't know this. What was her real name?
Her name was Margaret Maggie Brown. Like, Maggie was her nickname. And she didn't become the Unsinkable Molly Brown. Like, that was after she died. And that was when they started doing, like, stage plays and stuff about her trip on the Titanic.
So wait a minute. So we got Molly from Maggie?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a thing? Do you do that? Is that a nickname for Maggie? You call it Molly?
Not that I know of. Yeah, it seems like that was just...
Because if that's the case, then like every time I'll be like, it's Friday night, I'm gonna do some Maggie, and people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And you're like, oh, you'll know.
What is Maggie? I don't know. I don't get it.
No, don't worry about it.
Is that a car thing too?
Yes.
Okay.
It's buy 2 Maggies and then you jerk it up and down.
But it's interesting, some of the other stuff about her. So right before she actually got on the ship, or around the time, she actually ran for office when women weren't even allowed to vote. Like, she's a very influential person.
She ran for what, like, office where?
She was the first woman in the United States to run for political office. She ran for Senate 8 years before women could even vote.
Like the U.S. Senate or like a state Senate?
United States Senate, sounds like.
Oh, wow. Was that where I'm from? Is she just, or where I'm at? Did she run for it in Missouri?
Either Missouri or Colorado, because she moved to Colorado at some point too.
Yeah, because if you honestly, and I know, like, I feel like this is so sad. Like, this makes me kind of sad because I live, like I said, you see these signs everywhere where I live, and it's like, blah, blah, Unsinkable Molly Brown. Like, come look at her house. Come look at her house. But then you Google it. Like, if you Google Unsinkable Molly Brown house, the first thing that comes up is Denver. And then you're like, ooh.
Well, it's similar with, like, Mark Twain. Where is Mark Twain from? I mean, he was from Hannibal, but didn't he live somewhere else?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different sites. I think he lived in New York, mostly.
So what you learn is most people leave Missouri.
That's the moral of the story is people don't find fame and fortune until they leave. Maybe that's our problem.
You need to leave Missouri.
I need to move.
Yeah. Well, you've already done it once. You've been to California.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but now I'm here. So what's that mean? I failed where everyone else succeeded. That makes me feel good. Thanks, Shawn. I can always count on you to bring me up. I can always count on you to lift me up in times of trouble.
Well, I mean, let me read you this a little bit. So Molly Brown, at the age of 18, she relocated to Colorado when she was 18. So that's probably where she ran for Senate. And she married a guy by the name of James Joseph Brown. He was nicknamed JJ.
JB.
Yeah, Jim Brown. So, he finds the love of his life, right? Maggie. What's her original name?
And he's like, I think that name Maggie's stupid. We're going to call you Molly.
Margaret Tobin was her original name.
Ooh.
This is what she had to say about the man that married her. She says, I wanted a rich man, but I love Jim Brown.
Ouch. Yeah. What a bitch.
I thought about how I wanted comfort for my father and how I had determined to stay single till a man presented himself who could give to the tired old man the things I longed for him.
See, if I was him, I'd push her out of the fucking lifeboat.
I know. That's probably why he put her on the ship. It's probably an assassination attempt on his part.
Yeah. I made the iceberg.
Listen, iceberg, I'll give you 17 polar bears.
Yeah. And then they're sitting on the lifeboat and be like, what was that you said again about, you wanted a rich guy, but maybe you should get a guy that doesn't want to push you out of the boat.
Maybe you should have took swim lessons, bitch. Baloosh.
Too bad I couldn't afford them. Fuck you.
Jim was as poor as we are, she said, and had no better chance in life. I struggled hard with myself in those days. I loved Jim, but he was poor.
God damn it.
Yeah. Finally, I decided that I'd be better off with a poor man who I'm loved than a wealthy one whose money had attracted me. So I married Jim Brown.
Oh my God. So she's like, I wanted a rich guy, but I settled. You know what? I'm glad I haven't visited this bitch's house because that's rude.
Put a Jim Brown sign in front. Should have treated him better.
Fuck Molly Brown. I wish she was sinkable.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was like very poignant of, I don't know, very
Yeah, the fact that like
spiteful.
I live in a town that props her up like she's some kind of fucking folk hero, like she's Paul Bunyan, but instead like she's a gold digging fucking bitch.
I wonder if that's why she I mean she ended up getting money somehow so JJ actually made some money through mining.
And then she's like, "Oh, I think I like you a little more."
Yeah, he made some good money.
I do not like this woman now. You have ruined the unsinkable Molly Brown for me.
Yeah, she was her salary was like $700 a month back then, which they said is the equivalent of about $18,000, almost $19,000 today.
Her salary for what?
For being married to JJ, I guess.
Damn. So he's like, yeah, here. So it wasn't a salary, it was like her allowance.
Yeah, apparently.
So he'd be like, here's 18,000 for putting up with me. I'd be like, fuck you. I want dinner. I want dinner on my table every night. And I want, yeah. Oh, too bad you married a poor guy. Fucking bake me a cake, bitch. Here, I bought these tickets for this boat ride. So if she was so poor, or if she married so poor, how'd she end up on the fucking boat?
Well, because they made some money. So he had a mining company that started making some money after they got married.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's go through this a little bit. So, they acquired great wealth in 1893 for JJ's mining engineering efforts, which was big in their, basically, they had a mine, it sounds like, and it started making some big bucks.
Yeah, because they're mining in like the old West, so they're probably finding like all sorts of shit.
I don't remember when Colorado became a state, but they were doing this in Colorado area.
Yeah.
So in 1894, the Browns bought a $30,000 Victorian mansion in Denver, Colorado. They had a summer house too in Southwest Denver near Bear Creek.
Yeah, and he's like, "Don't we want to? We could go and buy the house where you were born." And she's like, "No, fuck that. I gotta have it for a reason."
I think there's some dude writing a book about Tom Sawyer up there.
Yeah, fuck that. Go back there. Who the hell wants to go back there?
But at this point, she was huge into women's rights. You know, she was like a charter member of the Denver's Women's Club and was fluent in a bunch of different languages. So, I mean, she was really big on women's rights.
Yeah, except for the part where it's like, you know, like, oh, and then like I'm sure they have a meeting, you know, for like, you know, unite women or whatever, and then somebody's like, yeah, we should be able to get jobs just like the men, and then fucking Molly's like, whoa there. I mean, let's not put the cart before the horse. I mean, I have a salary. Salary for what? I fuck my husband.
Well, I talked too soon on the salary part, Richard. So after 23 years of marriage, she decides that her and JJ need to separate in 1909. So they privately sign.
So wait. So she marries him and is like, yeah, he's poor, but I guess this'll do. And then he makes money.
Yep.
And then that's not good enough because then she fucking dumps him.
Kicks him to the curb.
So before the marriage, it's like, God, I wish you weren't poor. You fucking piece of shit guy.
I mean, I love you.
Why can't you just make some money? Maybe if you made some money, I'd love you more. And then he's like, okay, I have this mining company. Oh, look, I made a fuck ton of money. She's like, nah. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it now. But yeah. I'll take some of that money on my way out the door.
Yep.
God, I hate this woman. I hate this woman right now. Shawn, make me like this. At this point right now, I'm rooting for the iceberg. I am rooting for the iceberg.
Well, that's how she got her $700 monthly allowance. It was to continue her travels and her social work. So that's pretty much how she probably got this trip on the Titanic.
Oh my God. Yeah, and if I'm JB, I'm like pouring. I'm trying to like make an iceberg in like because the boat's in London. I'm trying to make an iceberg in New York. Like, you know, oh, come on. All right, go get it. Go get the boat.
So she gets on the boat, right? I think it was just kind of her travels. So somehow she just figured that, you know, she'd be a first class passenger. She was conveyed, it says, to be a passenger on this. I don't know by who. But it says that she was disliked.
Probably some other dude that she was fucking sleeping with on the side, trying to get some more goddamn money.
Probably. But
I don't like this woman. I'm sorry, but I'm thinking nothing but bad thoughts about this woman right now.
Well, this is where she has to deal with like the aristocratic, old world, because she was new money, right?
Right.
Like she didn't come from money. She like earned it, the American way by strapping up your bootstraps and digging in mines and divorcing the man.
Yeah, strapping up your bootstraps and fucking marrying a guy and then dumping him after he makes a fucking boatload. Be like, I'm gonna go work on women's issues, and he's like, bitch, like I just fucking started getting a decent paycheck.
You think so? So of course we all know, spoiler alert, the Titanic sank, right?
Right.
So she sends like a bitchish like postcard from where it takes off from, is like, greetings from the SMS Titanic. This is Margaret, former Brown, about to find me a hot, sexy guy on this boat.
Yeah.
You earn some more money. P.S. Your dick was small.
Yeah, she's like trying to pull Tinder on the fucking Titanic.
She's like, swipe left,
and then sees a guy like holding a big sack with a $sign on it, and she's like, swipe right.
So good old JJ, he's working hard again because he's got to make more money now, right?
Yeah, because now he's probably paying like alimony.
Yeah.
See, what he should have done is what they did back in the day, where he's just like, hey, I'm gonna go out for a second. We're out of milk. I'm gonna go get milk, and then just never come back. Well, that's what he should have done. Been like, fuck this bitch.
He had the company though, because then if she disappeared, she'd get all of it.
He doesn't need to disappear. He would just it's not like they had internet or fucking like private detectives. He could have moved to like the next town over and just started a brand new life and ran the mining company. Be like, she'd show up on the job site and she'd be like, has anybody seen Jim? And all the workers were like, no. There's a guy there with there's a guy with like a fake mustache and a top hat. They're like, no, I haven't seen him, madam. I'm handling his affairs in the meantime.
I'm Brown Jim. I own this company now.
Yes, he sold it to me.
For $7.
And it turns out that I get the house too, so get the fuck out.
But you imagine, so she writes him this nasty postcard, sends it. Jim gets it because he's working super hard. Like, he gets it the day he finds out the Titanic sinks too. So he's like, oh, fucking yes, sweet.
Right? He's probably like doing a fucking jig. Thank you, Iceberg. Thank you. I love you, Iceberg.
And then he starts hearing all these things about the unsinkable Molly Brown.
And he's like, son of a bitch.
So of course, he hears about this. She's getting famous from this, being unsinkable, all this bullshit. So he starts going to bars, right? Like he develops a drinking habit. And he's like, hey.
Unsinkable Molly Brown. Me, Molly Brown. And try and sink this fucking shot glass in my belly. Nom, nom, nom.
He's sitting there, overhears somebody talking about, oh my God, the unsinkable Molly Brown. I didn't know she's from here. He's like, guys, comes over, sits his glass.
He spins around in the bar stool. Let me tell you something that you don't know about the unsinkable Molly Brown.
Yeah, you know why they call her unsinkable Molly Brown? Like, because she didn't go down on the ship. It's like, you know what else she didn't go down on? She didn't go down on me, little pee-pee.
Yeah,
I mean,
big PP. It's like it's like an iceberg.
It's straight ahead.
It's small at the top, but it's really big at the bottom. It's kind of a cone shape.
It's like, wait, so like you have a small penis but big balls? Like that sounds
yeah. It's like that. Doctor says uncurable.
It's a mining accident.
I brought the canary with me. Didn't do a bit of good.
Every time he leaves the bar, he's like, iceberg straight ahead. He says that every time.
That's what he says when he pees in the alley next to the bar. Iceberg straight ahead. Wish iceberg fucking take that gold digging bitch down. I hate her.
But I love her so much.
I still have the postcard.
Come back to me, Molly Brown.
I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke white miner. Okay. Okay, so what happens after? So she's crusading for women's rights, and I'm all for her crusading for women's rights. I just don't like her doing it on this guy's dime, I guess is my point. So anyway, so she does all that. She gets on the boat. The boat thing happens. Celine Dion sings about it. She gets on the life raft, and off she goes to safety. What happens after the whole Titanic fiasco?
So, I mean, she starts to live a little bit from that, being the only known survivor. She actually, it's interesting. They said that, I guess there's like a big, like, not really a trial, but where people like told their story about what happened, like in an official way. I don't know if it was for lawsuits or what it was, but since she was a woman, they wouldn't allow her to do it. But so what she did is she wrote what her recollection of the events were, and sold it to the New York Times, or gave it to the New York Times.
Oh, okay.
But so she was able to kind of ride that fame for a bit. It helped her promote issues of like rights of workers and women, education and literacy for children, historical preservation. She like would constantly talk about the bravery and the chivalry of the men on the Titanic, which was probably because she's like, oh man, all those men on the Titanic.
So many men with such large pocketbooks.
She was a big like helper in the First World War in France, helping soldiers and stuff. So I mean, she did a lot of good stuff. I mean,
okay, yeah, okay. I'm all for that. I'm like I said, like when it comes to like the causes she's championing, like I'm like that's all good. That's great. I'm glad she, managed to make some headway in terms of promoting the cause of women. I guess I'm just not a fan of the fact that, like, she did all this, and meanwhile, fucking poor Jim Brown's in Colorado footing the goddamn bill.
I mean, it would be okay even if, like, that's how she felt, but the fact that she says, like, I really wanted a rich man, but I settled for this slob.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think, I agree. Like, okay, let's say that they got married, and he made a bunch of money, and he died, and she, was like a wealthy widow, and did all this shit. I'd be totally fine. I think it was just it. I think what rubs me raw is her fucking attitude about it.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I wonder.
Oh, I wish. Oh, I could. I wish. I was trying to find my big payday, but I found this guy instead. I guess he'll do. And then he makes some money, and then she takes the fuck off.
Is that kind of a thing around the times too? Like, kind of to wrap it back, like to things I don't understand, but was that like, was that actually something people tried to do back then? Is to marry into wealth?
I have no idea. Probably because people it's like, hey, marry rich or die young.
I guess that's a good point. I guess there is always it's easier to marry, or it's better to marry for money than it is for love, or easier to marry for money than it is love, or
something like that. I don't know. I don't have that problem. I never had to deal with that issue. My wife didn't have to deal with that issue either. See, I don't want her to hear the story because she'll be like, Molly Brown, not a bad idea. I'm like, The difference is that guy made money and I don't.
Their 30th anniversary, she's like, man, I really wanted to marry a rich man, but I settled for Richard because I loved him.
Yep, and then I'm going to be like, well, that's your loss. That's your stupid move.
But yeah, they end up...
I bought you a ticket for this boat.
It's called Titanic 2. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Do you know they actually were going to make a Titanic 2?
Yeah, I think they
were
are
going to build another Titanic.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm pretty
Don't you feel like that's I feel like you're tempting fate there because originally they built the ship and they're like, blah, blah, it's unsinkable, la, 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 la. And then the ship fucking sinks. And I don't know.
Well, and the fact that they're going to take the same course too on its first run.
Like a ship like that sinking, that means a bunch of things have to go wrong and a bunch of people don't have to give a shit. And that's exactly what happened. And so like the odds of that ship sinking, I think, were fairly low. And so to repeat the entire endeavor, I just, it sank once. It sank once because of things.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going against the ship because, like, the stuff that was built from, because it was in the cold water, made it more brittle. So, like, the material they used wasn't quite right. Which the new Titanic, I think they're like building with better material. Like it's going to be the specs on the inside with, I think, more modern stuff inside. But the actual ship itself, what it's built from, is supposed to be like actual like quality stuff today. And they're going to have enough lifeboats.
Maybe what'll happen will be the same thing that happens on like cruise ships these days, where like something goes wrong with the food and then everybody gets sick.
Well, there was that one ship not too long ago that like flipped over or something, and quite a few people.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of cruise ships. I mean,
never been on one.
I've never been on one, but like being like isolated like that just kind of gives me the creeps.
Yeah, but see, then like your problem is the shark thing.
Yeah, there's that
like
too.
You're on the boat, and then
I found somebody that has the same fear I do about planes going over oceans too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because I'm
glad you found a kindred spirit.
Yeah, because my fear is in a plane like going over the ocean. It crash lands. I survive, and what happens, Richard?
What happens?
The sharks come because there's blood in the water.
Oh.
Yeah. Then I get eaten alive.
And then you get eaten.
Yeah.
Nom 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 nom. Doo 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 doo.
But I guess there wasn't any sharks or anything where the Titanic sank because it's too cold.
Yeah. They probably no.
There might be killer whales up there.
I don't know. See, if I had the option of being eaten by a shark in warm water or freezing to death in cold water, I don't know which one I'd take, honestly, because I hate being cold.
Well, and like what sucks about the shark thing is usually it's not like a clean kill. Like usually like you're either going to see it coming or you're going to get hit, and yeah.
Yeah, they take a chunk out and then you just kind of bleed.
Yeah.
Well, that's depressing.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm going to have bad shark dreams. But JJ ended up dying on September 5th of 1922. And Margaret told the newspaper, so this a little bit, so you can kind of start liking her a little bit more.
Okay.
She said, "I never met a finer, bigger, more worthwhile man than JJ Brown."
Oh, wow. So so in the end, she kind of propped him up.
Yeah.
She's like, his dick looked just like an iceberg.
Small on the top, big on the bottom.
I never went down on him. That's why they called me unsinkable. But the reason I never did was because it looked like an iceberg. Like I could, who can wrap their mouth around that?
Yeah. I mean, trust me. He always said I never went down. I go down. Trust me. I go down all the time.
I'm totally sinkable now. Get out your pocketbooks, fellas.
But yeah, so she ended up getting a little bit of a estate because I guess he didn't have a will or anything. But there's a good 5-year dispute between her and the two kids before they finally settled the whole estate. So she was battling her kids for her dead husband and their father's estate.
Oh, see, you had me a little bit, and then and now she's fighting. She's fighting with the kids over the money.
Yeah, that's true. That's always sad. Whenever you have like families fighting over like a dead relative's estate, it's so terrible. That's why I don't have anything. I don't want anything.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being poor. Everybody likes you when you die because you have nothing to give.
That's what I tell my kids, like, that's why we're poor, son. It's so, when I die, you don't have to fight over the estate. It's like, but I'm an only child. Yeah. No, that doesn't matter.
It's like, thanks, Dad. That was super nice of you.
Here, eat your ramen noodles.
I put salt in it this time.
How much? Do I not put too much in there? That shit's expensive.
Salt costs money.
Yeah.
You gotta mine it. Anyway, so to recap, to close the book on this, I will say.
Well, let's bring it. So one last thing, kind of sweet. So when she ended up dying on October 22nd, 1932. She died of a brain tumor, but she's buried along with JJ in the cemetery of Holyrood in Westbury, New York. So they're, even in death, they're together at least.
Yeah, and he's probably like, bitch, why are you here?
She's nagging the whole time. She's like, you couldn't have gotten us a better cemetery, you cheap bastard.
Like we could have gotten a better plot. Maybe if you would have had some more scratch, then we could have been buried on a hill. And then he's like, this bitch. So to close this out, I will say that, Shawn, you have you have basically sealed the fate of the fact that I will never go and visit this woman's house.
Well, if you do, you could actually probably help. Be like, you know what? I heard she hated her husband.
7 blocks away. I will never go and visit. I'm now going to avoid it. Like if I go out on a walk, I'm not going anywhere near the house.
Well, no, you'll be like the Westboro Baptist Church, but you'll just be out front protesting, being like, she didn't love John Brown.
Stand outside and be like, I ain't saying she a gold digger. She ain't messing with no broke miner.
All right, well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver at languageofbromance.com. Check out the LB Army Intelligence Reports. Like us on Facebook. And go out and recruit for the LB Army by getting someone you know to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher.
Yes, and also make sure if you go to iTunes, make sure you leave a review. Because the review, what the reviews do is they help keep us relevant. They help keep us in the game. The more reviews we get, the more people see what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you don't want that. I mean, to a certain degree, I don't want that, but maybe you do. So definitely go on iTunes, leave a review.
Yeah, if you're asking what can you do, go iTunes, leave a review. Stitcher, I believe you can read reviews as well, and that helps get us exposure to new people on the show. And if you're looking at those areas, you want to find somewhere else, you can always check us out also on the Pod Bros Network.
The best podcast site on the internet. The Unsinkable site on the Unsinkable podcast site on the internet.
And if you want to go a little step further and throw some money in us so Richard and I can get those tickets to Titanic 2, go to our Patreon account and join the LOB Army officially. It's www.patreon.com/languageofbromance.
Yes. But one thing I promise, we will not use the money to buy tickets to go to the birthplace of the Unsinkable Molly Brown.
All right. Well, is there anything before I close her out?
No, we're done here. We're finished.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.
You know who doesn't eat the beaver? The Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Richard, I always wanted to find like a rich podcast co-host.
Yeah.
I settled for you because you're my best friend and I love you.
I'm glad you settled. I ain't saying he's a gold digger, but he ain't messing with no broke podcaster.